high. That's our motto. And we're going to help 500,000 families like Christina's before the end of the year. Aren't you proud to be in a company like this? And when you sit down with a family, whether they live too long or die too soon, with the stroke of a pen, you just took care of that family. Powerful. Who's in this house today? My good friend Andy and Lynn Newen are here. Who's there from their team? Make some noise. My dear friends Penny Oy and Ben, who's there for their team? Is Canada in the house? So much fun with Rogers' team last night. You know what? I'm a little biased. I believe that my wife and my team is the best team. Is there anybody from Team Legacy in the house? Hey, do you have any idea what it takes to put on simultaneous conventions? This isn't the only one. There's another one. Can you imagine all the time, the energy, the resources that our home office has put into this event? Do you agree? Now listen, I want to give me a minute here, but I want you to let them know how much you appreciate them. And you guys like your packets? Were they unbelievable? Yeah. It's not even anywhere near being done yet. Can you imagine all the work that we're doing? Well, I want you to thank the entire home office, Susan Davies, Paul Minnick, and our great president, Joe DePaulo. Let them know right now. I personally believe it was destiny. You know, I got an opportunity to sit in Joe's office, just some alone time with him and I. And he said to me, you know, Greg, it was really powerful. He said, you know, Greg, it's not my job as the president of this company to have a vision. That's all you leaders. You leaders have to have the vision. But he said, it's my job to go out there and get the resources for you. Have you seen how many powerful resources this man's gotten for us? It's his relationship with Transamerica that even us as being able to have that platform. Now here's something else though. You know what else? Joe probably wouldn't want me to say this, but in some ways, Joe's a lot like a referee. You know what I mean by that? You know in the NFL, you know what they tell every NFL player when they come in the NFL? They say protect the shield. You know why they say that? Because they say, hey, you don't just represent the NFL when you're playing football. You represent the NFL in the offseason. You represent the NFL when you're out there on Saturday night at 2 in the morning in a bar. And you know what? That's Joe's job too, to protect all of us. You understand that? I see this man with tears in his eyes when he had to let somebody go because somebody did something that wasn't compliant. And I'm going to ask everyone in this room, don't you dare tarnish the name of WFG. Don't you dare tarnish the name of TFG. There's been too many people with hard work and blood and sweat and tears. And a lot of people got their kids in here with them, and they got their grandkids in them. And I don't want any one of you to mess this thing up by doing something. Is that a promise? I think Monty Holmes did a good job of telling us that before. Papa Kapp, yeah. I got a lot of grandchildren out here.
Papa Kapp.
It's a relative thing. The more money you make, the more relatives you get.
Reminds me of Rodney Dangerfield.
You know, some of you don't know me, but I know you know my leaders. How would you like to override Rob Day, Jamie Villalobos? How would you like to override the great John Shim? How would you like to override the MVP of this company? And it's not arguable. And how would you like to override my wingman the last 20 years? The most loyal human being I've ever met in my life. He's been at my side for 20 years. Been so loyal. The one and only Jeff Levitan. yourself with people that are better than you, your weaknesses become irrelevant. And forget about your weaknesses. I got several weaknesses, but you know what? When you build a team, it becomes irrelevant. Now, it didn't start out that way. I'd like to say my first year I made $1 million, but I didn't. I was a postal worker in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's about an hour north of Chicago. And I worked there for 15 years on a graveyard shift. How exciting a life was that? And then one day my boss showed me an article about a balding football coach, and it said that you could do something on a part-time basis, like a referral basis. So I sent a letter to this guy. I even said, "Dear Art," in my letter. It was a powerful letter. "Dear Art, send me information on your company." But you know what? I believe in God, because somehow my letter went to the wrong person. It went to the #1 income person in the whole company. And you know, when he finally called my house, I had worked all night and I was up 24 straight hours, so he called my house at around noon. And you know what? My wife even took my daughters out that day. And see, when people knew it back then, this is 28 years ago, we didn't have any, caller ID and stuff like that. But, everybody called my house, let it ring 3 or 4 times, and they would hang up. And you know what? The phone just kept ringing and ringing and ringing. I was thinking like, man, who's terrorizing me like this? And Rich, who making that kind of money would let your phone ring on and on and on? I think he put it on his shoulder. Remember the old days when he put the phone on your shoulder and just kept ringing? There had to be an angel in this story somewhere. And guess what I said when I answered the phone? To this #1 income guy in the whole company. I said, he said, "Hey, I feel like I got you at a bad time." I said, "No, I'm gonna mail you something." I was like, "Whatever." And I went back to sleep. I thought I dreamt it. And the next day, an overnight delivery truck backs in my driveway. And guess what? I found out that this guy made $3 million a year. I was so nervous, and I had such a poor self-esteem that I wasn't even gonna call him back. But I told my beautiful wife, Tina, the story, and she said, "Why don't you call the man back? Tell him you worked 3rd shift and you were asleep." And I said, "That's a good idea." You see why you want to marry up in life? If you're single, make sure you marry up in life. Well, then I'd like to tell you that because I had these great mentors, everything went easy for me, but it didn't. Because I had the mental toughness of a chipmunk. So guess what? I decided to quit. I realized I'm not going to make it in this business. And so I called up my mentor. It took me like a whole week. I had all these pages out here on the counter. 20 pages of stuff on the counter. And I said, I appreciate all you've done for me, but I'm not meant to do this. I quit. He started to laugh, like hilariously. You know how offensive that is when you finally get your courage to quit? And he said this, he said, "Kapp, if this is something you could quit, you would have got fired a long time ago. You can't quit." I'm so naive, I said, you can't even quit this thing. I wish these stories weren't true. I should just stick with the introduction and just come out here and say I leave. Well then, you know what? Because I had the mental toughness of a rabbit now, things got tough. Well, I'm not going to call up my mentor and get laughed at. So I told my wife. Because I thought my wife was really mad at me because I wasn't making any money. And I said, "Honey, I'm just going to quit this thing. You know what? I'm not here at all. I'm not making any money. You know what I mean? I'm not going to the kids' things at school." And you know what my wife said to me? "I don't want you to quit." I thought she was going to be so happy when I quit. She said, "I don't want you to quit. Because you know why? I've watched you grow as a person. Remember when you couldn't even talk in front of your family? Remember when you couldn't even dial a phone? Remember when you used to drive around the block before you would get out of your car to go on appointments?" She said, "This is the man I married." And then she said this to me, "I believe in you." And you know what? I tell you guys, train your people, but don't ever forget to believe in your people. Don't ever. See, Tina believed in me before I believed in my own self. That's why I love this woman so much. She's kept our whole family together. You know what I mean? Because it isn't easy. But when you hear people say like this is taking time away from my family, are you kidding me? My wife and I have been married 40 years, and our marriage is strong today. We're more in love today than we were 40 years ago. Because this business literally makes you stronger. It makes you much, much, much stronger. And then you know what? Then all of a sudden, in my 5th year, I only made $22,000. I'll bet most of you would have quit. But you know what? In our next 5 years, we went from 100,000 to 250 to 5, and then we became CEOs and we produced a CEO. Isn't that powerful? But I didn't quit. I didn't give up. So the whole moral of my story is get in this thing, but don't quit. And you know what? Don't make decisions when you're down. When I called my mentor to quit, you know what I was doing? I was making a decision when I was down. Write this in your notes. Don't ever make decisions when you're down, because that's not you, that's your fear. You don't want to ever take counsel from your fears, ever. You know, did you ever wonder why Aegon bought us in 2001? They didn't want to buy us. Years ago, they just liked using third parties. But you know what? We were moving so much product that they started to study the leaders here. And you know what they found out? They found out that we had the greatest system for either finding or developing leaders. And you know what? The heads of Aegon knew that leadership is everything. You show me a good school system, I'll show you leadership. You show me a bad school system, I'll show you a lack of leadership. You show me a good business, I'll show you leadership. You show me a good government agency, I'll show you leadership. You show me a bad government agency, see, everything rests and falls on leadership, like Eric told you earlier. And you know what? Think about it. We either find or we build leaders. Now, Jeff Levitan got his ring in 7 months. I got my ring in 7 years. Oh, these people, they drive me crazy. Now, what's the difference between Jeff Levitan and me? 7 months, 7 years. Now, I'm better looking than him, but other than that, what's the difference? He came here as a leader. I came here as a postal worker, with a postal worker's mindset, without mental toughness. So you see, you're either going to, and a lot of you are going to start bringing on people that are already leaders somewhere, and they're going to come in and they're going to make a lot of money real fast. But right now, I want to talk serious with everybody in this room. I want to talk to you about anyone in this room that's got a dream. And I mean, I'm serious now. Everybody remember, write this in your notes. Goals give you focus, but dreams give you power. You got it? Goals give you focus, but dreams give you power. Now, who remembers Martin Luther King standing on the steps of the Jefferson Memorial? Everybody remember that talk? One of the most quoted talks of all time. And what did he say? He said, I got a goal. No, you didn't. Some of the young people think of it, oh, I got the young people going here. No, he said, I got a dream. And when you got a dream, you got power. But I'm going to tell you something else. When you realize that you have a chance to have your dream come true, you're going to have a couple of nightmares. Raise your hand if you've had a WFG nightmare. If you don't raise your hand, you're lying to me right now. You're just 1 or 2 nightmares away from all your dreams coming true. I'm telling you right now, let's all sing that together. I'm 1 or 2 nightmares away from all my dreams coming true. Fredo Barber, the great Fredo Barber, right? Well, she had a dream since she was a little girl. She had a dream since she was a little girl. And you know what? See, she had a dream. She came to her first presentation with her good friend Dina. And you know what? They sold her a dream. And then she said, you know what? I finally found a vehicle for my dream to come true. And she moved from Southern California because she wanted to be a pioneer and open up in Brooklyn. And you know what? She had a couple nightmares happen. Challenges with the office. Challenges finding leaders to help her out, right? She had her challenges. She had her nightmares. But guess what? She was just 1 or 2 nightmares from her dreams coming true. And now she's an EDC. She's close to getting her $750,000 ring. She was voted the Woman of the Year in the city of New York. She asked me to come. Mayor Bloomberg was the other one honored there. And now she's got a 6,000 square foot office in Wall Street. Let's say it again. I'm 1 or 2 nightmares away from all my dreams coming true. Say it. How about the great Eric Wilson? Did he hear a great talk before lunch today? This young man had some big dreams when he was a kid. I mean, big dreams. And you know what? He came to a presentation and they sold him the dream. And you know what he said to himself? You know what? This is my way to achieve my dream. And then you know what? He had a couple of nightmares. Do you know that Eric Olson failed 8 exams? He doesn't want me to tell you that. But you know what? A lot of you would have quit, wouldn't you? But see, because he had a dream, he had power. See, the power gets you through the adversity. And then you know what? He had other adversities hit him. And I'm going to tell you about this young man. This young man has never come to me with a problem. Ever. Because he knows that if he speaks it out of his mouth, adversity now knows he's weak. That was a powerful one I just gave you right there. See, when you speak your adversity out of your mouth, you're letting adversity know. You're letting adversity know now that you're weak. And you don't ever want adversity to know that it's got stronger will than you got. And that's why I'm a big believer we shouldn't be speaking out our problems. You know Jamie Villalobos, the great Jamie Villalobos, you know what? She had a humongous dream. But you know what? She grew up in a trailer park in Montana, and she had to wear boys' hand-me-downs. Can you imagine how embarrassing it is in middle school to be wearing boys' hand-me-downs? But you know what else? She was abused as a child. And you know what? Jamie could have been like most people and become a victim, couldn't she? But there was something inside her that said, no. I got a dream, I'm gonna follow my dream. And you know what? She overcame her nightmares. And she just told me, you know, she found her Prince Charming and Sean. She just had her 4th baby, Benjamin Joseph. And she told me, Greg, the 9 months I was pregnant, my income went up by $500,000. Who'd like to have your income go up by $500,000 in the next 9 months? Then of course, Rich Solly, you know what Rich Solly told her? He said, well, that tells me you need to have 10 more children. That's Rich. I love it all, Rich. It's like Rich told Jeff Lahoviak. Jeff Lahoviak was so proud of his $500,000 ring. And he said, Rich, look, I got my $500,000 ring. And Rich said, man, I don't know how you can be excited about having a half of anything. You know what else in this room had a big dream as a child? Felomar Bunge had a huge one, right, Eric? She had a huge dream. Because her dream was to go back to the Philippines and help her people. And God placed a big dream in her heart. And you know what? She found out that to get on the board for All for One, which is Jeff Levitan's charity, she heard that Jeff and I had been to the Philippines a couple times. And you know what? She said to me, Greg, I want to get to CEO because I want to get on that board and I want to help you guys when you go to the Philippines. Well, guess what happened? On her way to having her dream come true, she had some nightmares. Her father passed away suddenly in the Philippines. And you know what? She's the only one in the family that had enough money to put on a funeral. See, they all looked at Felomar as the leader, so she had to abruptly stop her running for CEO, fly home, and help out her father and take care of the whole funeral, everything that goes along with a funeral. And then you know what? Another nightmare happened. Right after that, she finds out her brother's got cancer. And then she finds out that the only remedy for him is to go to China. So she has to take him to China, and she's paying the whole thing herself. And she's doing it because why? Because that's the kind of woman she is. But guess what's happening back here in the States? her husband Alan, and her wonderful team, and her leader Eric Olson said, you know what? While Falamar's going through this nightmare, we're going to help her get her dream come true. And while she was over in the Philippines, her team got her a single and got her enough oil to take care of her. Is this a good company? You know, a lot of people ask me, they say, Greg, how come in your first 5 years you made $22,000? And then in your second 5 years, everything took off. And I had a real hard time explaining it until I took my grandkids to a movie. And you know what the movie was? Kung Fu Panda of all movies. And you know, we're sitting at the movie, right? And a lot of times I fall asleep in these movies. But remember when the father said to the son, because the son said, hey dad, you know, what's the special ingredient to your noodle soup? He said, son, one day I'll tell you. And the son said, well, tell me now. He said, oh no, this can't be taught. It can only be caught. I added that. Nobody else put that in the movie. Okay. So one day the father says, son, today's your day. And the son sits down and he says, son, I'm going to tell you the secret to what makes my noodle soup so special. And the son went, okay. He said, son, don't ever forget this the rest of your life. The secret to my noodle soup is that there is no secret. And the panda went, huh? And then you know what the father said? He said, son, because I want you to remember this for the rest of your life. Something is special if you believe it's special. And I started to cry like a baby, and the snot came out of my nose. I was choking. My grandchildren went to the end of the room, because in that little sentence from Kung Fu Panda, I got my answer to the difference between my first 5 years and my second 5 years. Because my first 5 years, I was never my own best friend. I was always my own worst enemy. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think there was anything special about Greg Kapp. But at some point, I realized, if I don't think I'm special, why would anyone be on my team? If I don't think I'm you think I'm 5 people. Does that make sense? Something is special if you believe it's special. So all the mothers out there, did you know you're not a special mother unless you believe you are? Now, have you made some mistakes? Hey, yeah, but you're not a special mother if you don't believe you are. Fathers out there in the audience, you're not a special father if you don't believe you are. Have you made some mistakes like I had? Absolutely. But something is special if you believe it's special. You know, Jeff Levitan, he loves lions. I mean, I remember one time I got him a sterling silver lion about this big, and I know he was thinking about melting it down, Joe, but, you know, it was like this big. And, you know, the lion is considered the king of the jungle, right? But think about it. Is the lion the fastest animal in the jungle? No. Oh, the cheetah is. Does the lion got the toughest skin? No, the rhinoceros does. Yeah. Is the lion the biggest animal in the jungle? No, the elephant is. So how come the lion is the king of the jungle? Because he believes he's the king of the jungle. Do you believe in that? Do you believe in God? You know, you can make it in WFG, you can become real successful if nobody believes in you, but you will never be successful if you don't first believe in yourself. And that's what conventions are. This is why the Home Office spends so much money, because they know if they can raise your self-esteem so it can trigger you like it did for me, and you can find that person you were born to be. I believe we're all born champions, and then we're messed up by the human beings in our life. Does that make sense? You know, one more quick nightmare was this. I had a dream when I was a kid, but I can't remember ever having a dream. You know why? Because I had a very disciplinarian for a father. He was a pretty highly critical man. I mean, he's passed away 40 years ago, and I forgive him, but I realized at a young age, I'm never going to get acceptance from my father. And you know what? My father broke my will. It wasn't his fault, but you know, it was my fault, but he broke my will. And that's why I took a job in the post office. I worked in the post office for 15 years. I was just a low self-esteem postal worker because it wasn't my dad's fault, but he broke my will. And then one man that I met when I was almost 40 years old, he simply believed in me. He simply spoke greatness into my life. And at first, I didn't even believe him. I thought, oh, he probably says this to everybody. Don't you feel that way? But he just kept speaking great. He said, this guy, Greg Kapp, is going to be big. It's like, man, I had 1 recruit and 1 sale last month. What are you talking about? But he kept believing him. He kept speaking greatness to me. And I say this to parents. Don't lecture your children so much. Let them know they did something wrong and punish them. But please speak greatness into their life. Does that make sense? Because when you speak greatness into a human being, God can work from the inside now. Does that make sense to anybody? We got a gala coming up here. Man, this gala tonight is going to blow your mind away. Your vision is going to be stretched so far, you're going to get stretch marks on your brain. I'm telling you, we got the greatest entertainment for you tonight. We got the greatest leaders in the company coming up on this stage. And I will say this, all the people that come on the stage, you enjoy this precious time you come on the stage because you earned it, you deserved it, you've been through a lot. And any of you that don't get on the stage, I want you to be not a divider, I want you to be a uniter. Does that make sense? I've always wanted a united team. And you know what, I believe WFG can be united. And you know what, be part of it. So let those people know that you appreciate all they've been through. All the sacrifices they made, the time away from their children. And if you're just a new person, right, there's like more than 10,000 of you. I would be sitting there cheering all these people, but I would see myself with Monty Holmes binoculars, and I'd say, you know what, that's going to be me next year. They're going to know who I am. You know what I'm The doors are going to open at 5, and you better be in your seat at 6 or you're going to miss something. Is that a deal? And let me close with this. I'm going to close with just 8 words. I want you to think about my story, and I want you to write these 8 words down. Are you ready? Believe, only believe that all things are possible. God bless each and every one of you.